Look, let's cut the noise. We are past the point of speculation. Right now, as of today, June 8, 2025, we are standing on the edge of a razor. XRP is entering a hypercritical window, a 7-day period that will set the stage for the next 5 years. We are talking about 2 specific, unmovable dates that will define the future of Ripple, the portfolios of every single XRP holder, and potentially trigger the most violent leg of this bull market. Tomorrow, June 9th, and next week, June 16th. This isn't just another date on the calendar. This is a strategic convergence, and if you're not paying attention, you are going to get left behind. First, tomorrow, June 9th, the SEC is hosting its much-publicized crypto roundtable, ironically titled DeFi and the American Spirit. On paper, it's a bureaucratic snooze fest. But let's be brutally honest. You don't host a crypto policy summit, with your own commissioners giving remarks, without preparing to address the single biggest legal precedent hanging over the entire U.S. crypto market, Ripple v. SEC. This isn't just a panel. It's a preemptive narrative strike. The SEC, having already been handed a stunning partial defeat by Judge Annalisa Torres, is now under a 60-day legal pause mandated by the Second Circuit. The timing of this discussion isn't a coincidence. It's a calculated chess move. Second, June 16th. This is the real moment of truth. This is the legal kill switch. The SEC is mandated by the court to file a status report. The games stop. The delays are over. They have to put their cards on the table. Is a settlement imminent? Are they arrogant enough to push for a high-risk appeal? Or will they attempt to stall one last time and risk a public and humiliating smackdown from a federal judge who has already proven she has zero patience for their antics? Do not fool yourself into thinking these dates are random. They are strategically and deliberately aligned. Smart money, the institutional funds, the whale wallets, the trading desks that actually move the market, is watching this convergence like a hawk. Why? Because when a powerful federal agency like the SEC begins synchronizing its public relations events with its court-mandated legal deadlines, it means only one thing. Something big is brewing behind the scenes. This signals intense internal coordination. It's about framing the public narrative before they are forced to make a legal move. It is strategic positioning on a battlefield where they are currently losing, not just in the courts but in the halls of Congress, with bills like the FIT21 Act gaining bipartisan support. That is precisely the moment when vigilant XRP holders must pay their closest attention. This is no longer just courtroom drama for legal nerds on Twitter. This is about the foundational regulatory framework that will determine how XRP is classified, traded, and utilized, not just in the US but globally. The events of the next 7 days could light a fuse that has been sitting in a powder keg for over 3 years. The SEC has never been a model of transparency. It's an institution that operates through the chilling effect of multi-billion-dollar lawsuits, regulatory ambiguity, and backroom threats. So when this agency decides to parade top regulators, industry lawyers, and policymakers in a public forum, literally hours before a critical phase of its biggest and most embarrassing legal battle, you can be certain this is not a good faith effort to find common ground. This is a carefully calibrated piece of political theater. There is a clear, actionable signal buried deep within this highly orchestrated noise, and our job is to extract it. The official agenda is a bland, almost insulting discussion on DeFi and the American spirit. The irony is staggering. But here's the raw, unfiltered reality of what's happening. The SEC is in full-blown damage control mode. They are cornered, fighting a multi-front war, and bleeding credibility. They are feeling intense, relentless pressure from a Congress that just passed the FIT21 Act out of the House, a bill designed specifically to strip the SEC of its claimed jurisdiction over most digital assets. They are reeling from federal courts, led by Judge Torres, who are not just questioning their authority but dismantling their legal arguments piece by piece. They are facing a united, well-funded crypto industry that has stopped asking for permission and has started fighting back with legal and lobbying firepower. And most importantly, they are still stinging from the landmark loss against Ripple, a defeat that shattered their aura of invincibility. This roundtable is not a policy forum. It is a staged performance designed to regain control of a narrative that has completely slipped from their grasp. It is a public rehearsal for their private capitulation. We will be dissecting this event for 4 critical tells. This is about reading the subtext, not the headlines. This is about decoding the bureaucratic language to see the strategic surrender hidden within. 1. Settlement language, the veiled surrender. We will be listening for the specific, coded phrases that signal de-escalation. Forget a direct mention of Ripple. That will never happen. Instead, listen for bureaucratic jargon like pragmatic enforcement, forward-looking resolutions, or the need to resolve complex, legacy cases. Does a commissioner talk about achieving our investor protection mandate through various means, including non-litigious ones? Do they emphasize a desire to provide clarity for good faith actors? This is the language of an agency looking for an exit ramp. It's a direct, albeit veiled, reference to a settlement negotiation that is likely already in its final stages. 2. Token classification, the semantic pivot. This is the intellectual core of the battle. Will they cling to their outdated, dogmatic view that every digital asset that isn't Bitcoin is an unregistered security? Or will we finally see a semantic pivot, a nuanced distinction that acknowledges the reality of the Torah's ruling? The key is whether they can separate the manner of the sale from the asset itself. Do they finally admit that a token, even if once sold as part of an investment contract, can evolve to become a non-security with genuine utility? Or do they continue to lump XRP in with defunct ICOs from 2017? If they echo the court's logic, it's a monumental concession that signals they are legally preparing to abandon their central argument against Ripple and the broader industry. 3. Regulatory roadmaps, the political barometer. Their posture on congressional action, specifically the FIT21 Act, will be a massive tell. The choice is binary. Do they attack the bill as reckless, claiming it endangers investors and undermines their authority? That signals they intend to continue their war, regardless of the political cost. Or do they take a more measured tone, offering constructive feedback and speaking about the importance of working with Congress to build a durable framework? The latter is a clear signal of surrender. It means they recognize their power is about to be formally curtailed by legislation, and they need to find a way to remain relevant in a world where they are no longer the sole authority. 4. Tone, the emotional leakage. This is where you watch their faces and listen to their voices, not just their words. Is the overall tone defensive, bitter, and arrogant? Are their jaws tight when mentioning judicial rulings? Do their eyes dart when asked about congressional oversight? Or is it resigned and forward-looking? Do they sound like an agency that has been politically and legally outmaneuvered and is now searching for a dignified exit? In Washington, a confident agency projects strength. A cornered agency projects forced, hollow confidence layered over a deep-seated frustration. That frustration is the emotional tell that a pivot is coming. Let's be crystal clear. If even one influential speaker on that stage publicly admits that the nearly century-old Howey test is not a one-size-fits-all solution for 21st-century digital assets, that is the equivalent of a strategic surrender. For a bureaucracy like the SEC, admitting a foundational tool is obsolete is a tectonic institutional event. It signals the beginning of a complete policy overhaul. History shows that this kind of public pivot is almost always the air cover needed before a major settlement announcement. This roundtable isn't just a discussion. It is a legal and political mood board, a preview of the legal filing they are forced to make next week. XRP's next historic breakout will be seeded by the words spoken and unspoken at this very event. Now, we move from the political theater to the legal arena. This is the main event, the SEC's mandatory court filing. This isn't a press release they can spin. This isn't a panel they can control. This is a binding legal document submitted to a federal judge. The clock, which started ticking back in April when litigation was paused, is about to hit zero. The SEC must declare its intentions. They have 3 and only 3 options. Each one will have an immediate and violent market impact. Option 1. Settle the narrative singularity. This is the scenario the market is coiled for. A settlement isn't just a win. It's a narrative singularity that collapses years of fear, uncertainty, and doubt into a single moment of explosive clarity. The market reaction would occur in waves. The first wave, in milliseconds, would be the trading algorithms scraping the court filing for keywords like settlement, dismissal, or resolved, triggering massive buy orders. The second wave, minutes later, would be the professional traders and crypto funds with alerts set, who will pile in, amplifying the momentum. The third wave, over the following hours and days, will be the global retail army waking up to headlines of Ripple SEC war is over and exchange relisting announcements. A good settlement, one with a reasonable fine for past institutional sales and, crucially, no admission of fraud and no restrictions on current or future secondary market sales of XRP, would be treated as a complete and total victory. XRP would be, by definition, the first and only major altcoin in the United States with judicially affirmed regulatory clarity. The resulting repricing event would be historic. Option 2. Appeal the institutional suicide mission. In a move of pure institutional arrogance, the SEC could appeal Judge Torres's ruling. This is their high-risk, low-reward, Hail Mary, and it's a fool's errand. An appeal would go to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. A loss there, which legal experts believe is highly likely given the weakness of their original argument, would be catastrophic for the SEC. It wouldn't just be another loss. It would set a binding legal precedent across the entire Second Circuit, which includes New York, the financial capital of the world. Such a precedent would effectively neuter the SEC's ability to wage its regulation by enforcement war on crypto. It would be an institutional death blow from which their current strategy could not recover, especially with Congress already advancing legislation to formally define these jurisdictional lines. The immediate market reaction to an appeal would be sharp and negative. But for savvy investors, it might be seen as the final, fire sale buying opportunity before the SEC walks into a legal buzzsaw it cannot win. Option 3. Stall the contemptuous gambit. This is the weakest, most cowardly option. Asking for another extension after months of delays would be a direct insult to Judge Torres and the court. It signals indecision, weakness, and a lack of a coherent legal strategy. Judge Torres is not known for tolerating games. She could not only deny the request but publicly admonish the SEC for wasting the court's time, potentially even threatening sanctions. For the market, this prolonged uncertainty is arguably worse than the clean break of an appeal. It would likely lead to a slow, painful bleed in price as frustrated capital moves elsewhere. A stall is not a strategy. It's the admission of a complete lack of one, and the market would punish that indecision severely. A favorable resolution is not just a pump. It's a fundamental paradigm shift for XRP and the entire digital asset space. It will trigger a sequential, cascading domino effect that will unlock decades of value. Domino 1, the great relisting and the U.S. liquidity flood. The moment clarity is achieved, a frantic race to relist XRP will begin across every US-based exchange. Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, they will all scramble to be first. This is not merely symbolic. This unlocks the single largest pool of investment capital on the planet. Billions of dollars in US retail and small fund capital that have been legally locked out for years will flood back in. New trading pairs will emerge: XRP/USD, XRP/USDC, XRP/PYUSD, creating deep liquid markets. This isn't just about trading. It's about reintegrating XRP into the core of the American financial ecosystem, providing the essential on-ramps and off-ramps for the utility that follows. Domino 2. The institutional stampede becomes a reality. For years, institutions have said, "We're interested, but we can't touch it due to regulatory risk." A settlement vaporizes that risk. This isn't just about asset managers. It's about specific use cases. For payment giants, Ripple's on-demand liquidity, ODL network transforms from a promising but risky technology into a fully compliant, superior alternative to the slow, expensive correspondent banking system. A payment from Chicago to Mexico City that took 3 days and cost 5% will now take 3 seconds and cost a fraction of a cent. For the BlackRocks and Fidelities of the world, XRP goes on to the approved list, making it eligible for inclusion in their digital asset funds. For corporate treasuries, XRP becomes a viable treasury asset, one that not only diversifies their balance sheet but also has real-world utility for international payments. The floodgates don't just open, they are blown off their hinges. Domino 3, the XRP ETF becomes a foregone conclusion. This is the ultimate validation. The SEC has already been politically forced to approve Ethereum ETFs, despite its own chairman's profound public ambiguity about ETH's status as a security. Now, imagine their position when faced with an application for an XRP ETF, an asset that possesses precisely what ETH lacks. Legal clarity affirmed by the U.S. court system. What possible grounds for denial could the SEC have? They would have none. An attempt to deny an XRP ETF after approving a legally murkier ETH ETF would be immediately and successfully challenged in court as arbitrary and capricious. An XRP ETF is the logical checkmate, cementing the asset's role in mainstream finance and opening it up to every retirement and brokerage account in America. This is how XRP goes from a niche asset to a household name. This resolution connects all of Ripple's strategic moves, their custody acquisitions, their stablecoin plans, their CBDC pilots, into one unified, unstoppable machine. This isn't a dose of hopium. It's a strategic heads-up based on locked-in, verifiable events. The XRP community has weathered a storm of smoke and mirrors for years. Fake relisting rumors, unconfirmed settlement leaks, and misread court documents. But this time is different. We are not guessing. We have two real-world, scheduled events that are designed to force institutional-grade clarity. Tomorrow, June 9th, the regulatory temperature check. This is not just another boring roundtable. This is the SEC publicly telegraphing its game plan for a post-lawsuit, post-election, post-backlash crypto landscape. Every word uttered at that event is a signal. If even one regulator acknowledges the need for tailored legislation or criticizes the SEC's current framework, that is your first breadcrumb. Smart traders will be analyzing not just what is said, but how it's said. Tone matters. Pressure always leaks through language. June 16th, the legal trigger point. This one is black and white. There is no room for spin. The SEC files a report. The court reacts. Ripple responds. There is zero ambiguity here. If they announce a settlement, XRP gets immediate narrative ignition. If they choose to appeal, the market will reprice the risk accordingly. If they dare to stall again, the court itself may finally draw a hard line in the sand. This is the kind of decisive moment that professional traders wait months, even years, for. We are moving out of the hype phase and into the decision phase. Volatility will spike. Sentiment will flip on a dime. Positioning will be everything. So what should you actually do? Here's the no-fluff, actionable playbook. Build your Intel dashboard. Turn on alerts for Ripple legal filings via Pacer, SEC press releases, and have feeds ready for the roundtable analysis. Your information edge is your trading edge. Become a whale watcher. Go beyond Twitter sentiment. Track on-chain analytics for large wallet accumulation. Watch the XRP derivatives market. Is open interest spiking? Is the funding rate turning heavily positive? Sophisticated capital leaves footprints. Follow them. Architect your scenarios. Have a written plan. Scenario A, settlement: my entry is X, my first profit target is Y, my moonbag target is Z. Scenario B, appeal: I will cut my exposure by X% or look to hedge/short at key resistance levels. Decide now so you can act decisively, not emotionally, in the moment. Anticipate the move. Understand this. The price will move before the news hits mainstream media. The first moves will be algorithmic, triggered by keyword sweeps of legal documents. You don't need to catch the absolute bottom, but you must be ready to act on the initial liquidity spike that confirms the direction. And above all else, remember this. Do not wait for your confirmation bias to catch up. Price moves on expectation, not on verified verdicts. XRP will not ask for your permission to move. It will just move. Final word? We are staring down a rare window where narrative, regulation, and law are set to converge. That alignment doesn't happen often in any market, let alone crypto. When it does, capital moves with blinding speed. This is your front row seat to what could be XRP's ultimate defining moment in the US legal and regulatory arena. If you found this breakdown valuable, smash that subscribe button. Send this to someone still stuck in 2022 thinking XRP is dead weight. And make sure your bags are aligned with your conviction. Because what comes next? It won't wait for the headlines. Stay sharp. Be crypto smart.